Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah. Tonight we have the pleasure of having the one and only Ben Stowe talking to us on Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe, which is kind of convenient because, you know, that Kyle guy is just so, I mean, he's like from Iowa. Hello.
So, you know, I'm from Iowa too, right?
No, you're from northern Minnesota. Shush.
That's where I live. But anyway, so
you're from northern Minnesota.
Well, doggone it. Yeah. Well,
Now,
I mean, but
now you will
unlike
be judged.
Kyle,
Unlike
Kyle, I left Iowa as fast as I could.
That's what we were going to go for. Yes, that's what we're going for.
No, I don't know. It's always home, you know, so.
If you guys are wondering who we're talking about, Kyle's been on a few shows recently. We just saw him in Las Vegas. Was it last week? Seems like forever ago.
Man, I had not slept in my own bed for 3 weeks, and it after a while, and I realize that's nothing compared to, you know, other times or you know, certainly people who are deployed, military, whatever, but it definitely takes a toll, and you just sort of get a little bit like, I don't even know where I'm at. I don't really care anymore, honestly. So yeah, but it was just last week, and Kyle's great. Love Kyle.
Yeah, he's good. He's fun. He's
and viewers, if you don't know Kyle yet, you are missing out.
And you're going to see more of him. I mean, just because he's a good guy, and we're going to have him on because he's got some great information, great knowledge for our industry. So,
and he's 6'6", which is great because people at trade shows, you know, somebody will say, you know, what's the price on that? And you know, we'll say, oh, ask Kyle. He's, you know, maybe I don't know, right? Yeah. And they look like, no, like, oh, he's like a giant teddy bear. I'm way like meaner than he is. He's such a nice guy. Like, it's just hilarious. Nobody's scared of me because I'm a skinny little nerd. So,
yeah,
you know.
Exactly. Yeah, and they know that, you know, if there's some thumping to be done, Kat's there and she'll take care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. So, but that's okay. It works. But yeah, Kyle you guys will be seeing more of Kyle as we go on because he'll be bouncing back and forth. And of course, he does some interview shows on the NLFX page. So you guys can check those out right there. So excellent.
Yeah. He's genuinely interested in people. I think that's really cool. He really wants to get to know, you know, the professionals out there that we serve at NLFX. And so, yeah, if you haven't been on Kyle's show yet, reach out and, you know, get something going with him.
Yeah. Good man there. Good man. So tonight we're going to be going back. We've got our little segments tonight, which means we're going to have a couple of questions we're going to be doing. We've got our joke of the week and we've got the weekly TED Talk. So we're going to put our little cue breaks in between those and we'll be coming back to you with our joke of the week. All right, Ben, what is this week's joke?
Well, I made a new friend on Facebook who actually shared a few because
nice.
he said he couldn't forgive me for the joke last 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So, and I forgot to write them down, and I couldn't find the thread again. So my apologies. I'm so sorry. I will find it for next week. So we got this one instead. What did the DJ tell his roommate that was using his strawberry jelly?
What did the DJ tell his roommate that was using his strawberry jelly? I do not know.
Yo, that's my jam. You remember that Polaner all fruit, right? Please don't call it jelly, right? You know, that's my jam. That's my jam right there. And it doesn't have to be strawberry, I suppose. I don't know.
That worked out. That worked out. Strawberry jam, you know. I gotta say that was pretty good, actually, Ben.
Listen, if y'all's coming here for the jokes, see, that was proof I just spent a week in Nashville. I said y'all's. If y'all's coming here for the jokes, if y'all's coming here for the jokes, you're coming to the wrong place. I'm just gonna tell you that right now.
Let's jump to our first question tonight. All right, Ben, in our first question of the night, I want to kind of dig into a little bit. Somebody was asking about speaker stands because they've seen some of the pictures that I had put up where we were stacking the little subs in a small setup. And then we're using speaker stands, and they're like, you know, there's so many different speaker stands out there, and they wanted to just kind of get an idea of, you know, what's kind of things they should know about speaker stands before making an investment in that area.
Well, it's one of those things that you would think like, how much could you possibly know about speaker stands, right? How much could there be to know? So I put together a few quick things,
Yeah.
just sort of a oversimplified way, and this is in no particular order. And then I got a real fancy summary page thanks to
Ooh.
PowerPoint. So let's just jump right to this. One of the things that can be really handy is what we call a leveling leg. And you can see here, this could be also outdoors, uneven terrain, stage, as you can see here. Any time that you might need one leg longer than the others.
Mm-hmm.
So that may or may not be a feature that you need in a stand.
Speaking actually, Ben, speaking from someone who does a lot of home work or work on the house and such when you're doing some remodeling and things, we've got some very expensive ladders that have a similar functionality to that. And when you don't have it, you don't realize you don't think about it too much. And then once you have it, you'll find that you needed it way more than you ever thought. And then, I mean, that's a prime example right there, because that stand wouldn't fit on that, but with that adjustable leg, it can. So I don't even know if I knew those existed like that, but I think I might have now found something I needed to buy.
Yeah, well, you know a guy. So,
yeah, I know a guy, Kyle.
Yeah, call Kyle. Yeah,
call Kyle.
Here's the great thing too. None of us get paid a commission, so we really don't care as long as you get taken care of. It's, I mean, there might be a little friendly competition, within the walls, but at the end of the day, Kyle, it doesn't really matter, honestly. Yeah. All right. So next is, and I posted a picture of the warning sticker. I'm always reminded of an early version of these and a great story about our friend Mike Dussault. But these are pneumatic automatic lift assist stands. They have a pneumatically charged cylinder inside that will cause the stand to raise on its own. And basically that means that you aren't lifting the full weight of the speaker. And if you have a light enough speaker, it will actually just raise that thing right up. Otherwise it just, offsets some of that. And, sorry, that's get those 100-degree temperature changes going back and forth.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of that here in the last couple of weeks.
The story about Mike Dussault is fantastic because this was one of the very, very early versions of these. And this is going back probably 20 years ago now. And he opened the box. We were setting up for a trade show and we were using these speakers or these stands to hoist. He works for Electro Voice, so EV speakers.
Yeah.
And as soon as he opened the top of the box, that thing just rocketed up at about 100 miles an hour.
Oh.
I mean, it would have been a knockout punch right to the chin. I mean, and it was like the Matrix. He just was like, whoa, like watch that stand go flying up in front of him. We're like, holy smokes, Mike, you nearly got your head taken off.
Wow.
So anyway, you'll notice this one has a warning sticker on it, but they would
have gone shooting right past his nose.
Oh, it was so close. I mean, would have clipped him right on the chin, and I think he'd have probably just been done right
lights
there.
Out, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would have been. I know that. But anyway, it missed and he survived, and the stand companies have long since fixed that issue. So that's good.
Yeah.
But I guess, note to self, don't look down over the top of the stand while you're raising it, just in case. Yeah. And also he didn't have a load on the stand, right? If you have a speaker on it, it's obviously not a big deal. So anyway, so that, lift assist can be nice if you have heavy speakers that can help, raise and lower. And then the type of base, do you want a tripod base? There are also quad pods, which is cleverly enough like a tripod, but with 4 legs. And then, like a flat base, like you can see here on the right. So I think just sort of form factor is a thing. There's also round bases and a few other, I didn't want to get all into the nuances. And check out this clever PowerPoint generated side, whatever I'm trying to say here, graphic. Yeah, it's fancy. Look at that.
This is big time in it right here.
I typed it out as a bulleted list, and PowerPoint said, "Hey, we can make that fancy for you." And I'm like, well, "Let's go. Our viewers deserve this. Our viewers deserve free graphics."
Exactly. They're getting their money's worth plus right now.
Yeah. So let me just go through my list real quick here. So max height, how tall will the stand go? Do you need to get them up really high? Of course, height can be your friend sometimes if you have point source loudspeakers and you need to have a, kind of angle your throw. minimum height because it has to fit in your vehicle or your trailer or your
Right.
bag or whatever, right? But so how big will it get and how small will it get? Pole diameter is a thing. There are different pole diameters, and the most common is about 35 millimeters, or roughly 1 3/8 inches. But there's also 1.5 inches and 1 inch, and so it has to fit. And again, 35 millimeter being the most common by a good margin, but still, just be advised. Um, and then the last two, what does the stand weigh? And this kind of goes with the carrying it around, right? There are really heavy duty steel stands, there are lightweight aluminum stands, everything in between. And then weight capacity, what will that stand hold? And almost every stand really worth its salt will hold as much of a speaker as you care to lift on it, but that is a thing. And there's a real big variety. I think people would probably be shocked to know that there are speaker stands that range from like $15 up to $300 and $400.
Oh my.
Yeah. So, it's a pretty big difference in construction and quality, longevity, features. It's like anything really.
And there's also some additional pieces that a person can put on stands. One of them we talked about on a show a number of years ago was a little device, and I mean I could go grab it, but it was basically an attachment you put on the top, and it would snug on, and then it would actually tighten to the underside or into the speaker, which would allow us to have the speaker aimed a specific direction, and it wouldn't turn on us for those times that they can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Or the wobble.
Mm-hmm.
Again, even though 35 millimeters is the most common stand, and it's a standard, a variance of a millimeter or two can cause that stand to or the speaker to definitely wobble on a stand. You and I remember some speakers had thumb screws in the back to tighten it down. I don't know if I've seen one of those in a while now, but anyway, yeah. So that those expander adapters will also keep the speaker from wobbling.
Yeah.
And K&M makes some great ones. It has have those on both top and bottom. You can get those from Kyle.
Mm-hmm. And I did. I had you guys send some of those down, and now we have those. Literally, we have them on all of our speaker stands that we're using, because they are just a fabulous addition to be able to put the speaker, aim at a direction, and it stays nice and square, nice and directional.
Since this show is all about education, I feel like there's something else we should probably share with our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I'm learning all about anatomy. Apparently, humans have two tubes in your throat,
Yes.
your trachea and your esophagus. And apparently one of them is for air and the other is for liquids. And if you get them mixed up, it doesn't end well. So
yeah.
Forgive me for trying to breathe water for a moment there.
Yeah.
But
Well, you're not Aquaman. I mean, you might have made it one time, but probably not anymore.
I could summon fish. That could be really handy in Minnesota.
That could be, especially in your neck of the woods. There's some fish just up the road.
Man, I'd be done with sound if I could summon fish.
Summon fish. There's a market for that.
Actually, I think I could the two could work together. I mean, whales, because sound travels much faster and further underwater. So it's a more solid medium than air, so I mean, whales can communicate thousands of miles apart. This could work.
Ben's guide service, and he's bringing the fish.
All right, well, I'm out then. I'll see you later. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so that was tonight's show, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Problem right now is the water's frozen. I can't get in the lake.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be able to get a sound application working too well there. So, all right, let's jump to our next segment, which would be tonight's motivational talk. All right. Yeah. And yes, we are in Minnesota. When Superfly was talking about how cold it was in Rochester, it's warmed up, but it's still pretty chilly. So heater gets plugged in. So Ben, tonight's motivational talk, what do you got for us?
This one, sometimes these things just kind of write themselves. And this is going to sound a little bit like a lecture. And if it sounds a bit like a lecture, you should probably ask yourself why. And I'm going to tell you it's not a lecture. And if it is, I'm being lectured to. So I guess what I'm saying is hear me out, because this was sort of a realization that I had about a lot of things. Going through the airports as much as I do, you see all kinds of interesting human behavior, weather delays. My connection was, my flight was delayed. I missed my connection. Nothing good was happening. My bag went to one city and I went to another. And, and I had a show to do, I had to get to. And so I had to get a little bit creative. And I guess everybody's going somewhere for something, whether it's work or vacation or whatever it is, But anyway, tonight's topic is entitlement. And I heard these words that we've all heard before, but I heard them differently as I was standing in line at the help desk at the airport, waiting for my turn to, see what options I had to get out of there.
Sure.
And try to get closer to where I wanted. And I listened to person after person just rail on this customer service person behind the desk who I could tell had just had enough of it. You could just see they just couldn't wait to be not getting yelled at, because they didn't make the problem and they have the tools they have to fix it. And that's what they've got, and the words that people said were, "Do you know who I am?" And I thought about that for a minute. And I got to be honest, I was standing in a line. I was kind of thinking the same thing, right? Like, I'm a big deal and I'm a, Sky Priority Medallion Elite, El Primo status and, blah, blah. First of all, they know that as soon as they look at your profile. You don't have to tell them that.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them you're a diamond medallion or whatever. They can see that. Second of all, they don't care. I mean, they care, but they don't care, right? And this is not a knock on the customer service people. This is a knock on the customer.
Yeah.
Because I thought in so many places, in so many ways, if you have to tell somebody, who you are, you ain't. If you have to ask the question, do you know who I am?
Yep.
Maybe you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to do some soul searching about what compels you to do that. And I think there's a lot of reasons. And I think some of it is our desire, for the outcome we want, right? But I think some of it might actually be driven by our own inadequacies and our own fears, our own maybe self-loathing. I don't know. I'm getting way off, where I'm qualified to speak to, but I thought, why does a person need to say that?
Mm-hmm.
Why does a person need to say, do you know who I am? I'm a big deal. Give me validation, and maybe it's more important to give me a flight. So I thought about this as I was standing in line, and I was really glad those other people did it before me, because by the time I got there, I thought, man, I'm nobody really, really. I got another few decades on the planet, and then I'm going to die, and I'm going to decay, and I'm going to be dirt. Right. And then that's tough to think about. It's tough to swallow, but it's the truth. And in either case, it doesn't really matter. If I was a big deal, I'd be flying private, and I wouldn't be talking to Delta about trying to get me on a plane. Right. I'd be reaming out my own pilot or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm just joking, but I'm just saying, like, so let me tell you how this played out. So I went to, when I realized I'd missed my connection, I went to the gate, and I had just missed it by minutes. And I said, "So plane's gone." "Yep, plane's gone." And I said, "Can you get me on this other flight to this other city? It's closer to where I have to work tomorrow to do sound." And that agent said, "I can't, but go down to C9 and they can probably help you there, because that's the gate for that flight." I said, "Right on, thanks." So I went down to gate C9 and I said, "Hey, I'm a refugee from this flight, and it's, any chance I can go on this flight?" And the gate agent, and when weather happens, it disrupts a lot of things.
Yeah.
So they're getting it from all angles, right? The gate agent said, I can't help you. She said, "But I do have seats on this flight." I said, "I know, I already checked, but anyway, she said, I'll get you confirmed once you get on here. I'll make sure you get a seat, but I can't get you on the seats. You have to go to the help desk." So that's what brought me to the help desk, which is down by C2 for those who know MSP. And I smiled and I said, "Thanks." And I walked down to C2, and in the midst of getting chewed out by these other people, the guy at the help desk answered the phone, and I heard him repeat my original city and the next city. And I could see he kind of looked up with sort of an exhausted, disinterested face, but I perked up because I'm like, ooh, hey, is that C9 calling? You know,
that's me.
Is that gate C9 calling? I'm your guy, you know? Anyway, well, I guess the moral of the story is that gate agent had called down to the help desk on my behalf and said, I've got seats, just get them on the flight. And if I had been rude to her, that call maybe wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Yep.
And that wasn't my strategy, but it kind of worked out. And so, you know, then when my turn to this guy, I just said, hey, man, whatever you can do. You know, I said, I know it's a tough night. I appreciate it. I'd prefer not to sleep in this airport, but, you know, you do what you got to do. And a few minutes later, I was on the flight and I was on my way, you know, and I don't know what the outcome would have been for the other people who screamed and yelled. And I don't know if they felt better or worse after having done it. But I think it doesn't really matter if it's the airport or the restaurant. Or, you know, what drives me nuts more than anything, I'll tell you, is when people tell me how much they spend a year on gear. First of all, whatever number that comes out of your mouth, you're probably going to embarrass yourself, you know, because an Avid S6L mixing console is about $120,000 for one mixing board. So whatever number you say,
probably not a big deal.
Stop. You know, second of all, I don't care. I don't care. And I think that's evidenced by the 30 plus years that I've been in the business, where I've spent hours helping somebody with a $20 purchase, you know? So, and again, I'm not on my high horse. I'm not on a pedestal. I'm shaming myself a little bit for the thoughts that went through my mind that fortunately didn't come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I think we really need to take a good, hard, long look at ourselves internally, introspectively, about our sense of entitlement and what fuels it and what drives it. And then work on that, because I don't think it's necessarily they are bad people. Like I said, I think sometimes we are challenged by people only posting the best of their lives on social media. And that becomes a bit of an expectation, you know, that we feel like we have to be somebody, we must be somebody. And sometimes we have to prove that to ourselves more than anything. And at the end of the day, I just want to give you assurance that you are somebody. No matter what you spend on gear, no matter how much you fly, you know, we all have the same outcome awaiting us. We all have the same worth. So I think, you know, when we strip away all these other things that get presented to us, all these artificial things that the world creates, and maybe I did go find the mountain while I was out on the road. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, I will never judge your worth by those things. Mm-hmm. And if you don't for me either, then we can help each other get to a place where we can just be happy being us.
Yeah.
Even if we're sleeping on an airport floor.
And sometimes, you know, those things happen and you smile and make the best of it. Yeah.
And you know what? Truth be told, John, honestly, sorry, I just got to say, I thought about that. The next day happened to be Valentine's Day. I was in a hotel because I was doing a show in a casino, and, to our surprise, they had a Valentine's Day special, right? So we all paired up as dates, you know, us sound people, you know, our wives are all at home, whatever. So, you know, but we had crab legs, we had shrimp cocktail, we had steak. So less than 24 hours removed from the airport experience, I was eating an incredible meal, and I'd basically forgotten about the airline experience, you know? So don't get wrapped up in those things, you know. They're just temporary.
Very much so. Good talk, Ben. Good talk. Let's jump back. We'll be back here in a sec with our final question of the night. We go. All right, Ben, our final question, or our final topic tonight, is woofers. We've talked over the years about, you know, size and different aspects of it, but I really wanted to dig into the side of it of why sometimes a 12-inch woofer doesn't produce like another 12-inch woofer does, and why, you know, maybe a top the woofer from a top isn't the same as a sub woofer, woofer and a sub. You're following me, but
I'm tracking. Yeah,
there's so much variety and there's so much variation, because we've talked about, for someone who's looking and wanting to get and be making good quality decisions about things that produce bass.
Well, I think we have a whole show on that.
We do.
And I think that's a great show to watch, because I had a lot of information put together for that show, some graphs and graphics and things like that. I think I'll address specifically your question about the magnet, but I will talk about some of these other things because there's a lot that goes into it, a lot more even than just, like you said, the size. So without getting into things like, X max and how much throw the speaker has, and there's a lot of trade-offs with, brute force versus musicality, the movement of the cone and yada, yada, yada. And that's, again, go check out that show because we really got into the weeds there. We talked a lot about different models of 18 and 12 inch and 15 inch speakers, even from the same manufacturer. Why, like you said, a certain 12 inch might go into a top and another 12 inch might go into a sub, and what makes those different. Let's talk a little bit about loudspeaker construction, just on the core of it here.
Yeah.
So I've got my cutaway, which has made several guest appearances in the show. And here we can see my voice coil, which is a typically copper winding. And when we apply signal to that, it gives it a magnetic polarity. It's an electromagnet, basically. And so typically, I say typically, because again, there's no one and only rules here. Typically, a bigger voice coil is going to handle more power and it's going to have a larger magnetic field. And that's equally important when we talk about the magnet itself. So bigger magnets, and we'll get into magnet construction in a second here, but bigger magnets typically have bigger magnetic fields. So stronger reaction, and in simplicity's sake, louder speaker. We can have more reaction with our electromagnet and our permanent magnet, causing the woofer to move more, making more sound. Now, that being said, all magnets are not created equal. Neither are voice coils and woofers and all the other things. But there are two principal types of magnets that we're going to talk about. There's a ceramic magnet, like we saw here. And those tend to be big and heavy and cheap. And so they're the most common by far that we find on lots and lots and lots of stuff, especially woofers. These, big, heavy ferrite magnets, ceramic magnets. And then there are neodymium magnets, which use, neodymium, right? Or endymium, sometimes they're called. And those tend to be a lot smaller and lighter because the neodymium has a much stronger magnetic field. So we can get more magnetism, if you will, or a stronger magnetic field from a smaller, lighter magnet. So size doesn't always matter, but certainly there's a correlation between larger ceramic magnets typically having a larger magnetic field than smaller ceramic magnets. And we could get into the exact construction and density. And again, there's a lot of variables there, but anyway, that's the short version of it. Is bigger magnets typically mean bigger magnetic fields, which means louder speakers.
Now, the neodymium, you talked about those. Is that technology primarily used in subwoofer, or is that also used in like mid range or even the highs when we have our horns and such?
It's used pretty much throughout. They're much more expensive though, so it's not super common. And we see it in microphones too. We see because a microphone, like other than a condenser, right? But a typical microphone is just like a loudspeaker. You've got a magnet and a coil.
Okay, they're having. You mentioned size. The size doesn't.
I knew that was going to get a reaction.
They're having fun with that one.
Imagine that. No, wait, say it ain't so. DJ show. Make a size matters joke and people go bananas, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, there is a Ben here that's talking about ice cream. So we do have one that's staying on task, or at least close enough to our regular task of,
some voice of sanity in there. My wife is just around the corner, I think. And I felt like saying that just loud enough for her to hear too, because I would like her to know also that size doesn't matter, but that's for another day.
Yeah, they're having fun with that. Good stuff. So we're going to wrap things up here so Ben can get underway. Next week, Ben, I think we had a couple of topics, and one of which was one that you talked a little bit about from the demo room last week. And I want to dig into that a little bit more because you were showing us the Everse speakers. and to take those Ever speakers and making a fully wireless ceremony system with that, and that'll be one of the things I want to hit and have you hit that next week. So that way I can give you a heads up to make sure you get the pieces.
Okay, thanks. I'll do a little recon.
Yeah, get a little time to get those pieces together. And if you guys have any questions about any of the kind of gear we've talked about and such, Kyle's in the chat room with us tonight. Thank you for joining us, Kyle.
Oh,
and there's a lot of people in the chat room tonight, so thank you guys for being with us. NLFXPro.com is a website. You can go out there. There's a phone number there, or reach out to Kyle on Facebook. He is out there on Facebook also, and reach out to him, and he'll get you some pricing on any kind of a stand or anything you're looking for. He's the man. He'll get you taken care of. So, Ben, thank you much. And guys, you have a good night. And about half an hour or so, somewhere in that ballpark, the DJNTV.com chill room, DJNTV.com/chill. They're going to be in there doing the Tuesday music. They're going to be headed in here right after the show is over. So go in there, have a good time, talk DJ stuff, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.